What's going on, everybody? Chroma Rust here, back again. Have some more Diablo 3 content for you. So I know everybody wants to find legendaries like the pros, but there are some things that you're going to have to understand to be able to do this. And so these are some of the mechanics that I'm going to go ahead and talk about with you today. Alright, so let's go ahead and get things started on how to find a legendary. First, we need to understand Magic Find and how it works. Magic Find will affect what type of item you will get from killing a monster, but not the items that come from chests, armor racks, weapon racks, or bases, and so on. Basically, Magic Find increases the chance an item will be magical, rare, or if you're lucky, a set or legendary item. So, if or when a monster drops an item, the game will go through a set of checks starting with what will the item be, for examples, gold or potions, maybe gems, or even gear. If the game selects gear, then it will go through checking what level will the gear be, and what type of gear is it, in terms of whether it will be gloves, bracers, a ring, or a weapon, and so on. The way Magic Find plays into this equation, to give an example, let's say if a monster has a 1% chance to drop a legendary, and you have 100% Magic Find, this will just kind of make things easy. You would now have a 2% chance to get a legendary. If you're lucky, you would get the legendary. If not, then the item would go through a few more checks, starting with, is it a 6 affix rare, a 5 affix rare, 4 affix rare, and then moving into, is it a magic item, or a blue item as most would say. Then finally, is it a white item, or a broken piece of gear. When I say affix, if you're unsure what it means, all it is how many stats will the item have. Affixes being strength, crit chance, crit damage, life on hit, and things like that, just to name a few. To further explain, if that same item that missed the role of being a legendary now had a 10% chance of being a 6 affix rare, with our same 100% Magic Find, it would have a 20% chance of dropping. One thing to keep in mind though, is Magic Find does not affect the number of items that will drop from a white up monster, elite pack, or even bosses. It will also not affect the affixes that it will roll. What it will and does do is give you a high probability of finding a rare item, or maybe even that sweet set or legendary item you've been looking for. Now I know this may all sound a bit technical, but if you want the best chance at finding legendaries and set items, you need to know how the game works. Now that we have a better understanding on how Magic Find works, we need to explore all the ways to get Magic Find. There are 6 ways to increase it, so I'll break them down into groups. First is going to be Paragon. You can increase your Magic Find by leveling up Paragon levels. From the 1.0.4 patch notes, here's what Paragon levels are for those who are unsure. So once you hit level 60, any further experience you earn from killing monsters will begin to count towards these Paragon levels. There are 100 of them, and every Paragon level will reward you with core stats such as strength, dexterity, intelligence, and vitality, in the amounts that are similar to what you gain from a normal level. You will also get 3% Magic Find and 3% Gold Find per level, allowing you to get all the way up to 300% Magic Find once you've reached level 100.
Paragon 100! Paragon 100! Jim Hinson's down at Paragon 100! Today, 2 good things happen. A small step for me, but a big step for Diablo. I'm Paragon 100, and Jim Hinson is down.
Alright, so the second's going to be Monster Power. In Diablo 3, there's an option in the settings that can be turned on that allows you to play with Monster Power. Reading from the 1.0.5 patch notes, Monster Power will be disabled by default, so before you can make any adjustments, you'll first need to enable the system. To do so, open up the game menu, click the Options button, and click the Gameplay tab. You'll see the Enable Monster Power selection box on the right side of the screen. Check that and click Accept. Once enabled, the option to set Monster Power will appear in the lower portion of the Quest Selection window next to the Difficulty drop-down menu. You can choose from Monster Power 1 all the way up to Monster Power 10. Starting at Monster Power 1, each level of Monster Power will increase monster damage and health by a scaling amount depending on the difficulty. To reward your audacity, your hero will receive bonuses to experience, Magic Find, and Gold Find. So here's a table, and what we need to gather from this table is with every increasing monster power, you will gain an additional 25% Magic Find. So playing at Monster Power 1, you will have 25% more Magic Find. And at Monster Power 10, being the highest, you will have an additional 250% Magic Find. Do you ever sit back and ask yourself, what are those creepy people doing for me while I'm running around Sanctuary, other than chanting the same 5 things like, "That was a worthy foe! Glorious!"
That was a worthy foe! Glorious!
Well, I'm here to tell you. For stats such as Gold Find plus Experience and Magic Find that you gear your followers with, you will receive 10% of those stats for your character. With that being said, your followers are another great way to increase your Magic Find when playing solo. Most of all, the Templar will be your greatest ally for this task. When going about stacking Magic Find on your Templar, there is only one weapon that you will want to use, and that is the Sunkeeper, because they can get up to 45% Magic Find and is the most for any weapon. As for the rest of the gear, you just want to get the Templar's shield, rings, and amulet with max Magic Find. He can boost you a total of 30% when you have him fully geared. Next up, Shrines. When you click on a shrine, you and your allies will receive a temporary buff that will persist for a short period of time. Each shrine you find will only provide its effects once, and you cannot receive multiple buffs of the same type. With that being said, one of the shrines you find throughout Sanctuary will be a Fortune Shrine. It'll grant you 25% increased magic and gold find. Nephalem Valor is something you will be able to obtain when you reach level 60 by killing an elite pack, doing an event, and or opening a resplendent chest. Not only do you get their loot, but you will also receive a buff granting you increased magic find and gold find. However, if you change a skill rune, or passive, the buff will disappear. The exact amount of magic find and gold find provided by the buff is 15%. It can stack up to 5 times for a total of 75% and will last 30 minutes. The duration can be refreshed by killing an elite pack, doing an event, and or opening a resplendent chest. Alright, so gear and weapons are going to be our last way to acquire magic find, and can come with varying magic find bonuses, greatly depending on the level of gear. For this discussion, we will only be talking about items with level 63 affixes. Amulets and some legendary weapons can get as high as 45% magic find bonus. All others cap out at 20%. If you were to wear a full set of gear with capped magic find, you could theoretically get up to 310% magic find. You may be asking yourself, what does he mean theoretically? And that is going to bring me to my next topic. For those of you who have been adding up the max amount of magic find for each topic that I have been discussing, you should have come up with a number like 990% magic find. You'll be saying to yourself, holy cow, that's a lot. Well, I would have to agree, that is a lot of magic find. But there is a cap to it, so let me break it down for you. The maximum possible magic find was capped at 300% for gear, Paragon, shrines, and followers. So anything past that point, with those 4 added up, you will not receive the bonus. But you can still receive the 75% from 5 Nephalem Valor stacks, and the additional 250% when playing with Monster Power 10 on, for a grand total of 625% magic find. So here's a chart for you to take a look at. What this shows is the cap magic find for each Monster Power level. Now that we know how to get magic find and how it will affect our drops, we need to go over a few more things. Let's start off with how Magic Find will effectively have diminished returns as it increases. For this, I'll show you some examples. I'll be using one of my previous examples for this. You may have noticed when I said if a legendary had a 1% chance to drop with no Magic Find, when we added 100%, we would now have a 2% chance of that legendary dropping, effectively going from 0% Magic Find to 100%, doubling our chances of getting said legendary. Now let's say we finally did it. We doubled our Magic Find, putting us up to 200%. Let's continue on with the same scenario of 1% chance with 0 Magic Find and 2% chance with 100% Magic Find. With our new Magic Find value of 200%, we will now have a 3% chance to get that legendary.
Impossible.
You can tell in this case by doubling our Magic Find from 100% to 200%, we did not wind up with a 4% chance of finding our item, but only a 3% chance. So going from 100% to 200% only really increased our chances by 50% of our initial 2% value. To double our chances, we would actually need to go from 100% up to 300% to double our initial 2% chance up to 4%. Let me go over one more example to make sure we are all on the same page. We will stick with the same scenario. This time let's say we are going from 100% Magic Find to our cap at MP10 of 625%. We would now have a 7.25% chance of getting that legendary. By increasing our Magic Find by 525%, we are really only increasing our chance to find our item by a little over 250%. Hopefully that will give you a good idea of how increasing your Magic Find will affect your drops. Topic 5. Monster Power.
All that you have known, all that you have ever loved, shall die along with you, Nephalem.
Let's discuss Monster Power and how it'll help your chances of finding legendaries. There are two ways, one being Magic Find, which we have already discussed. The second will be through bonus items. So let me go ahead and elaborate on what a bonus item is and how to acquire it. When a monster dies, the first thing the game will do is decide whether that monster is even going to drop loot. Most monsters have a roughly 30% chance to drop loot. The percentages will vary from monster to monster though. For example, Tormented Stingers in Act 3 have a much lower chance because they spawn in large packs and are easy to kill. On the other side, Colossal Galgors will have a much higher chance due to being harder to kill. When you kill a monster in Inferno on Monster Power 1 or higher, if you pass the initial roll to obtain loot, you will also get a second chance in an additional piece of loot. This is referred to as the bonus item. The bonus item chance is shown here in the table for each Monster Power level, going from 1% on Monster Power 1 all the way up to 100% chance on Monster Power 10. The community manager Lyra's statement back in October 2012 is as the following. A few monsters are exempt from the bonus loot, but we tried to put it on a vast majority of normal monsters and will probably add it to more if we like how the system plays out. I myself have not seen or heard about any new updates on the issue and believe this to still be the most current information. You may be wanting to know what monsters drop the bonus items. Blizzard has not shared this information as far as I know, but I can say this. You will only be getting the bonus item from normal monsters. Blizzard's reasoning behind this, and I quote, "We wanted Monster Power to provide players with an extra chance at loot, and since champions and rares are already guaranteed to drop multiple items, normal monsters seem like the best place to add this in." With all that being said, you will start to see more legendaries from normal monsters the higher in Monster Power you go. So go ahead, we'll look at a brief study that Mulder did, who is a YouTuber and streamer who is very informative and is worth checking out. In one of his videos titled "Which MP for Items? Effect of Bonus Items," he came up with a few results which are, if playing on Monster Power 0 to 2, you will be finding more legendaries from elite packs. In Monster Powers 3 and 4, it will be about a 50-50 split. But once you reach Monster Power 5 and beyond, you will start to see more legendaries from white mobs than from elite packs. This is because of the bonus item that Monster Power will provide. Do keep in mind that this was a brief study and would need more data to be 100% conclusive, but is still a good estimate of what you will be likely to see. What we need to take away from this is not that everyone should be farming on monster power 10. It will depend greatly on a couple of factors. How much survivability do you have, and how much damage per second do you do? There is no exact set of numbers you will need to look for when deciding what monster power to play on, and it will also depend on what class or build you are using. It is something that everyone will have to test for themselves. Topic 6. Farming like a boss, aka going ham. Things you'll want to be looking to do is make your runs as efficient as possible. A run is considered by most as the route you take while killing monsters in the zones you go through. There are a few things I can provide for you here to get you started, but like I said before, every class is different and will have varying results. So there is no best run to do, but there are good runs, and there most definitely are bad runs. Movement speed is one critical thing that will help you speed up your runs and is something everyone needs to evaluate. I recommend getting anywhere from 21 to 24% movement speed. Some class builds are exempt from needing as much as others, but all will still benefit. One thing I need to note here is the max movement speed caps out at 25%, and with 2 items you can get up to 24%, so getting movement speed on 3 pieces of gear is a complete and total waste. One more thing that will help you decide what an efficient run is for you is you want to be able to kill the monsters you come across fast. Before patch 1.0.7 came out, the rule of thumb was you want to be able to kill elite packs in at least 15 seconds or less. Some things you may want to weigh in your equation though are experience versus item drops. Experience will boost your Paragon levels, thus giving you more magic find and increase your chance at better drops. But killing monsters faster will yield you more drops, thus giving you more chances of finding a good item or a legendary. The choice is yours on what you want to focus on, and it is a bit of a conundrum, this I do know. Keep in mind, with the introduction of bonus experience gained from higher monster powers, and you not needing stacks of Nephalem Valor to get a bonus item, I do recommend not playing on a monster power that is really easy, as some of us have become accustomed to, due to it being the most efficient way. On the topic of maximizing the efficiency of your runs, I can now, however, give you a few tips on what acts to play in and the zones you want to be clearing. So first off, let me say that if you're really trying to push your game to the next level in terms of finding more legendaries or even experience, you want to stay out of Acts 1 and Acts 4. The mob density is just too low. With that being said, Act 2 is the second best and Act 3 is by far the best. Locations in Act 2 that are good to run: Vault of the Assassins, found in the Desolate Sands. It is the most elite dense zone in all of Sanctuary. And there is the Black Canyon Mines, and it is also not too bad. And for the most part, that is it for Act 2. Act 3, on the other hand, has more good zones than Act 2 and is why most choose to do their runs there. You want to use the Stone Fort waypoint to go straight to the Skycrown battlements. The next zone is the Keep Depths level 2. Use the Keep Depths level 1 waypoint. The Bridge of Karask and the Rakkus Crossing are also good zones and they connect, so you can start at either waypoint and work your way to the other one. Tower of the Dam level 1 is a big circle. You just run the circle and head back to the waypoint. Ariat Crater level 2 and the Core of the Ariat are also good. I'll be making a video about good zones and how to farm them and a how-to later on. Topic 7. Information Overload. Or for the real name, knowing how to maximize Nephalem Valor. Just like with Monster Power, Nephalem Valor has 2 ways to increase your chances of finding gear. One of them, as we know, is Magic Find. The second, less obvious one, is from having 5 stacks of Nephalem Valor, which is the cap. What this will give you is an extra reward for killing elites and bosses. While this buff is active, you will receive extra loot drops. For example, you're running around Sanctuary, you just killed an elite pack, but you don't have any Nephalem Valor, and he drops you 3 pieces of gear. Now let's say you had 5 stacks of Nephalem Valor, and you were to kill that same elite pack. That pack would now drop you 4 pieces of gear, for a total of 1 additional piece of gear. Now this may not seem like much, and you're right, it's not a ton, but that additional piece of gear is guaranteed to be a 4 affix rare or higher. I do need to note that the additional piece of gear is not affected by Magic Find though. Here is a table to show you your chances of an item being a level 61, 62, or 63. This is once you went through the initial check of the monster dropping an item or a piece of gear. While this next part does not pertain to legendaries, it is worth mentioning. It is valuable to know that when playing on Monster Power 1 or higher, every act you play in, all pieces of gear will have level 63 affixes, no matter what the item level shows. Playing in acts 3 and 4 with no MP will yield the same results. This is not saying that all 4 affix rares are the same or that all 6 affix rares are the same. Level 63 gear will have higher armor values, and level 63 weapons can potentially have higher damage. Alright everyone, well that's it for me. While I could elaborate more on some of these topics, I was trying to keep the discussion relevant, and I know this was a bit long-winded for some of you. I do hope that everyone is able to walk away from this with a little more knowledge than when the video started. If you feel there's a topic that needs further discussion, or if you have any ideas for future videos, please do post them in the comments below. Also, if you have any questions, I will try to answer them as best as I can. Thank you for watching, and once again, I'm Chrome on Rust. This is Core Expert Gaming. Thank you for watching, and once again, I'm Chrome on Rust, and this is Core Expert Gaming.